Coming to you direct from the Norman Rockwell painting that is Spokane, it's the QueerCentric with your host, Queer's Johnny.
Welcome to another amazing installment of the QueerCentric. Super excited to be in a full house today. And welcome to the show. My two guests. Please, we're going to start right away by just introducing, because neither of you are strangers to our show. Right?
True.
So okay, let's start. It's like a lie detector test for Ian. True. And then someone over here has to be like, he's telling the truth.
I'm seeing deceit.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's the trick? You put a pebble in your shoe or something?
Right?
To,
Yeah. What if
There's
does
a spike
it
in
work?
blood pressure.
Right? I want to know if it were. I have no reason to ever be on a lie detector test, but maybe we'll be famous, and then they do that now to famous people. If you
Big Bird was
interview
on
with
there.
Vogue, who was?
Big Bird.
Are you serious right now?
And then Cookie Monster and Emo came in and asked him questions.
Oh, I want to know. Did he lie?
Not once. He didn't even seem like he
Wow.
knew how to lie. So
My favorite, before we get to introductions, my favorite is on TikTok. There is this Elmo puppet who is very not nice, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. It is my favorite thing to hear a high-pitched little Muppet, just a bitch. And I'm in, so.
I mean, that's
Because that's my personality.
I was going to say that's kind of how people perceive you, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm in. If I take helium, it's that you can't tell the difference. Sir Ian.
Yes.
Sir Ian.
Ooh.
Oh. Why don't you tell us? So you've been here
I have.
before.
Twice before?
I think so.
Is this third time?
I think this is the third time.
Okay.
Yeah, third time club. That's a big deal. Big deal. Tell us, sir, whatever you want us to know about you.
Oh, gosh. How much time do we have? No. My name's Ian. Use he, him pronouns. I work in the nonprofit sector here in Spokane and then run around and do other things as well.
A ton of other things. It makes me tired. That's how much stuff you do outside of this.
It's all fun. So.
Now, the fashionably amazing, as everybody can see from cameras, this is two, right? Second time. Awesome.
The second coming.
The second. That's my favorite. Tell us what we need to know.
Well, my name is C.S. Lawrence. My pronouns are he, she, they. I am a non-binary gay person. I am a writer and a musician, but I also have a really boring day job, obviously, that pays the bills.
Isn't that the worst? Someone asked, actually, I was at a meeting and someone said, oh, so obviously, so this is just what you do. And I was like, no, well, yeah, it is what I do. But no, I have a day job that, sorry about it, but annoys the fuck out of me. And but you do that in order to do what you want.
Exactly.
I think, Ian, you are the one person that has a job you want, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're doing passion work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you get paid.
there are some stressful days I could do without.
Right.
But on the whole, yes.
Welcome
So-
to nonprofit.
Yeah, exactly.
That is exactly
You know,
right.
I want to say I got a chance to go up to Odyssey for Perry Street Pride, and I was amazed at the work that your staff is doing there. Honestly, the future leaders of this country, I really believe, are going to come from a place like that. So I just want to say you are doing an incredible job, Ian.
beautiful.
You really, really are.
Doing the flattery for you, Jonathan.
Also, what was that?
Are you doing the flattery for you?
I know. See, that's because it's awesome. We cheer people on. Perry Street Pride. What? Tell me what is happening. How did I not know about this? I need to know.
It's only been around for a handful of years,
Okay.
and we squished it way down during the pandemic, of course.
Well, yeah.
But we're back full force, so it'll probably be, we don't know for sure yet, but probably be the fourth Saturday of June. So a little neighborhood festival. All the
my
restaurants participate, so there's food specials, there's flags everywhere.
I did not know that
There's-
this year.
Oh, yeah.
I'm being there. For everyone who's not in Spokane, the Perry District is the one of the cool spots. You know, every city has pockets that they put it out. And Perry District is one of my favorites. When I was younger, we won't say how many years ago it was, but I remember it was when they were just starting to build up, and they had the Garage, which was the coolest little coffee place you could go to, obviously because that was one of the first people who were using the garage doors.
Right.
And I would go there all the time, and that's when they were just starting to pick things and make them cool. And now I'm super excited. I love the Perry District. So when you're in Spokane next, you'll want to go.
Place to check out.
When you come in because you're going to go see the live show in February, there's a place you can go to. So, yeah. So there you go. We already know what you do. or who you are.
Yes, yeah, pretty straightforward.
Not yet doing. You're with the rest of us. We're not all as lucky as Ian's. You're not yet doing what you love in life.
Oh, I mean, in small spurts, kind of.
Yeah.
You know, when I can fit it in. But
so many things in that sentence we could unpack.
no, I
Small
said what I meant.
spurts,
Yeah.
we could fit it in. Story of my life. Yeah, so you're in the same boat as the rest of us. We are here in the still cold. It's going to be this way. For I don't do cold.
I mean, it's 35 degrees warmer than it was. Like
this is true. So. When it was and I was talking to someone. So when I was home visiting family, it snowed in Wenatchee 7 inches, and I had to clear my mom's driveway because I'm a good son, of course. Well, they had the same thing happen today, and I was like, "You keep that shit there. Do not send it because we're typically 2 days off of Wenatchee." I don't want the snow.
I can't picture you using a shovel for some reason.
Yeah, it's true. I almost couldn't move the next day, but I'm not going to let my 77-year-old mom do it. Could you imagine? Oh my God. I would be one of the neighbors judging me. Wow, what a horrible thing.
You shovel all salts and then you just hand it.
Right. And my mom, and this was the funny thing. So my mom, I'm like, shoveling driveway, and I thought I heard something. I turned around. My mom had run out onto the porch to take a picture of her son because she was so excited. And I just went about my business, pretend not to notice. She blew up all of her siblings. She blew them up. She's sending it to her church. I'm like, it's not that exciting. Thank you.
God does perform miracles. He's doing physical labor.
Exactly. I'm like, that is so nice of but so snow may be coming for everyone in this, just so you're warned. I'm the weatherman right now. Could be coming. And I just want to stay in my house then. I don't have time to stay in my house, but there you go. Before we start into what we're starting a new type of format today, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I do want to remind everyone who is listening to the show, That's Entertainment, our live show, is coming on Saturday, February 25th. We are full. And just so you know, the stress level that I'm at, I have numbered the days, and we have 53 days until show day. And until then, I'm going to be insane. So everybody mark your calendars. Doors open at 6:30. Show starts at 7. There's going to be music. There's going to be a live Broadway opening number. There's going to be comedians. There's going to be film. We're going to talk about film. It's going to be and it's being catered. It's going to be a night to celebrate and just have a good time. You know what I mean? For people who are all asking, the most important thing, as we've talked about on this show many times, the way we got marriage equality was we started being who we were and telling our stories and having no apologies. And that's exactly what this is. Because you know what the great common denominator is of all people? We all love entertainment. And if you don't, you're a demon, and I don't trust you. So it's going to be a great night. Everybody welcome. No cover. Just show up and have fun and, eat really good food because our caterer is amazing.
You intrigue them with the entertainment, and you actually draw them with the catering.
I see.
Yeah, that's how Spokane works.
And let me tell you, that is some good food. This girl knows exactly what she's doing, and we've used her before on Even. So super excited. So please mark your calendars and tell all your friends. And we're going to get louder and louder until day of. Because hi Spokane people, you don't love to come out. You don't. You don't love to leave your house. But because I don't either, I'll be honest. But I bet you'll leave your house for this, won't you?
Absolutely.
Mr. Lawrence. I knew it. See?
We have it on record.
I know. See? I mean, I've also lassoed in your hubby over there into helping me. So.
Well, like you said the last time I was here, we've known each other for, almost 100 years.
God,
I
yes.
remember when we met at Truman's inaugural, and you're like, oh, that Truman guy, he's onto something.
Exactly, see? And we were like, oh, we're good people.
Yeah, we're good people.
Know this. We know what it is. It's true, know each other a lot. So we talked about a new format, gentlemen. And I want to say that we are, basically, I go through the news, and I decide, oh, that's an intriguing article, and I'm going to make an overall theme. And I want to drill down on some subjects because I've been told many a times, you guys talk about so much and it's so short. I am a short king, so that happened. So I want to, something that's been intriguing, there was an article that came out that's, the title of the article was, what does the Q stand for anyways? And it was a really well-written article. I mean, it was lighter, but basically the premise was maybe with everything that's going on around us, we should just understand it more. Because, as we talked about on this show a couple months ago, David Sedaris, who I love, the satirist and amazing writer that he is, had released something in the Times saying he's tired. He's tired of having to learn one more thing because he's been around longer than I have. I mean, and he was like, I've been there at the beginning. I had to identify as gay, and then, you change. And he goes, and I'm just tired of one more. Which I love him. I don't love what he said. But it started this, there is a conversation going on out there. And what is interesting is this evolution of an identity is what's going on. And I find that fascinating. And I choose to look at it as we evolve as humans, we are finding ways in where we identify where we feel more comfortable, where I don't think the options were there as clear before. So why are we so mad that we have these ways to make us feel more alive in our skin? You know what I mean? So I thought it would be a fascinating discussion in this group to talk about. Also, the thing that is mistaken a lot is there is a difference in the alphabet, in our world, of what is identifying sexuality and what is identifying what I consider queer. Because I use queer on this show because it's an all-encompassing, inviting and welcoming term. I have received plenty of emails that don't like that we use queer on this show. And I thought, well, let's talk about it. So let's start by going around the room and saying, what does queer mean to you? Is queer something that you choose to own as something that you identify as? What does it mean? So, Ian, sir. I know, I was like, oh my God.
I was definitely the kid growing up that purposely sat in the back of the classroom. Just going to throw that out there.
Right. Welcome to a microphone.
I know. So I, in my own personal life, generally use queer to identify for myself.
Yeah.
And largely because it's everything else didn't feel like it was enough.
Yeah.
As an identifier. And then when I'm talking about community or the group or however, I tend to switch back and forth. It depends who I'm speaking to and about. So in this setting, I would use queer quite frequently.
Right.
If I'm facilitating a lecture or what have you in front of a group of teachers, K-12 teachers, I'm probably going to use some version of the alphabet soup list as opposed to queer, mostly because if the word turns people off, they're not going to listen all the time.
Well, and the thing that gets me as well is why do we feel like if we use queer as a moniker that it negates any of the others?
Totally.
When I look at the alphabet, I identify with a few things on that. But we do feel, and I think it's a cultural thing, we feel like we have to just be in a box. You know what I mean? Like, I come from entertainment, and so I think of that the powers that be in the entertainment world are always like, we're going to need you to decide on what you are. You can't be all of these things. We'll allow it if you are as famous as Cher or Gaga. We'll allow it because you earned up there. But we want you to be in a box. You know what I mean? But I don't believe saying queer because I don't know when you started identifying queer, but I've been around. And when I came out, it was all I knew was the LGBT. And so I identified as gay. But then through the years, queer has just been, it just says more because I don't want you to box me in. I don't want you to tell me who I am. What I'm telling you with this is there's a lot to me. And this is how I identify. But I don't just exclusively say queer. I will go to gay. I will be, because I don't think they have to be, they take one away from the other.
And this is in the acronym LGBTQ, is the Q questioning or
it is
queer?
Either. It is queer or questioning. They use them both ways. So that's why they'll say, if they put them out, they'll say lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer or questioning.
So in that, because I could see how people could become a little confused if that's inside LGBTQ, but the Q is all encompassing. I could see how that could be confusing.
Well, I guess if you don't say, but when we're saying the actual word queer, they can't get it confused with questioning because I just said to these people queer.
Sure.
And so that I feel like is more of an excuse to some people who don't want to go. And we're going to talk about, I got some comments online today that give an idea of why some people are against it. But when it comes to you, CS, tell me what you think about this alphabet.
You know, for me, the word queer is rooted in so many negative connotations because where I came from, I heard that word on a constant basis as a way to demean me or find some way to bring me down. So I've never really identified with the term or the concept of queer because I guess in a way my brain was programmed at an incredibly early age to associate that with negative ideology.
Yeah. And when I remember going to PFLAG when I was first out, and there was a gentleman there who identified as queer, and back then I had the same exact feeling.
It was pretty radical at the time.
It kind of made me feel, and it was more political, and it was more associated with things I didn't want to associate with, and so I was uncomfortable back then. I'm just like, that's and it's changed. I understand. So I understand this idea of reclaiming, this reclamation of the language, which is what they're trying to do. But as I was having conversations online today, I said what is most important is that we understand where we came from, or we're never going to understand where we are, where we're going with this word. We understand and respect that some people have had not a good time with this word. Queer was a weapon for hundreds of years. I mean, look, it started with it was a court case back. The father of the guy that was dating, give me his name. He was an old playwright. It was in the 1700s. And he found out his son was in a relationship with this person and then sued him. And in the court case, he used the word queer. And that's where queer began. And it was used as a weapon. It was a way because you're a little weird and I don't like you. And so and then it was used forever. But then we also get, in the 80s, we get, ACT UP and Queer Nation and all the people who were fighting for people, our brothers and sisters who were dealing with HIV. They tried to reclaim it, and I don't think we were ready. I think some people were, and good for them. And it took me longer, and then I was like, okay, I can do this. But we have to remember to respect some people. It doesn't matter. Also, are we going to use this as the forest? Can we see the forest through the trees? Are we going to use this as the hill to die on, as we've said in this group before? Why are we? So we're using this so the people who identify in any of the letters can fight with people who, because they say queer is okay with me, or the people who are like, this hurt me, I don't want to do it, but I'm mad at these people for bringing it. I feel like that's exactly what culture kind of wants us to do. You know what I mean? Is take each other out. Because I understand what you were saying, CS, which is there is so much negativity that can be, especially from those of us who came up either in a specific way, specific era, specific place in time. It wasn't like it is today.
It sort of poses the question of, just because this newest generation is comfortable with this and maybe even pushing it, trying to make it become normalized, does that sort of mean that the current generation is sort of forcing the previous generation sort of with these emotional attachments to the word and sort of scars? Yeah, they're sort of forcing them, saying either you're going to get on board or you're now the new bigot, which is such a weird
in our own community. We're like, you fucking suck, and it's like, and that's what gets me angry. That's why place of mutual respect. And every person I talked to today who had a negative thing to say about it, because I wanted to interact with each of them, we would talk about mutual respect. They were so great with that. That's all they want is, let me just not be okay with this. I'm fine if you're okay with this. This isn't mine. But I wanted to read a couple of comments. One of the comments was, for years, queer elicited a visceral reaction. Speaking as a late 50s guy whose formative years were in the late 70s and 80s. Over time, and seeing that it had been reclaimed for me, it still refers to those younger than this guy, but no longer seen as derogatory term. So we had a little conversation. He understands. Like, he's like, I get it. I get it that they are making this better for them. But for me, my experience was still negative, and I am not okay with that experience, so I can't embrace it. But he was fine with, you do what you're going to do, but I still need to be allowed to, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't personally think we got a lot of discourse in this in any community, let's be honest, at all in the world. But in our community, I think it's so important because there's so much stacked against us and people coming at us that you would hope, but there are some people that just want to tear things apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Thoughts on that alone? Every time I do a fake British accent, which I go into, I always, if I'm talking to you, I'm always like, oh, I should probably not do that because you have family from there. And I'm like, this is embarrassing, embarrassing to me. But
that's okay. Well, I think, a lot of today's generation needs to realize that word was a negative word for a different generation. And I completely agree with what that person said. In my opinion, I still see that as a negative word.
Yeah.
But if that is manifested into something positive for you that feels more inclusive for you, then by all means use it. But don't expect me to see your point of view because I just can't.
Yeah, or to adopt it. I mean, that's the big thing. To feel like you're not, you were even saying, that to feel like you're the bad guy if you don't embrace this word. I am the slowest person to change in the world. I found my way to it when we were, people talk to us about the title of this show all the time. And love you guys, I do. But one of the things was, when I was talking to Kurt and we were trying to figure out what do we call this, I wanted something broad. I wanted something that was more, and I didn't even think about how I felt about it because first, I don't think I had rechecked in with myself over the years. So what do you think, what's your first reaction when the kids or whoever, come out and they're like, I'm queer? Like, what is your first visceral reaction?
For me, I think it's actually a sigh of relief that something that was rooted in so much hate and anger is now being used as a way to identify oneself in a positive light.
Yeah. What do you think about, so this is an interesting question too. A whole other word. What do you think about the reclamation of the word faggot?
I don't smoke, thank you.
Right? That works for your cultural background. I still am not, but I try to be like non-judgmental towards other gay guys who want to use it.
Right.
What do you think of that?
For some reason, I do have a visceral reaction to that one,
right?
But not queer.
Yeah.
And it might have just been
it
probably
does sound
unpacked
like a harsher
childhood
word.
trauma.
Right.
Agreed. It is.
It's what?
It does sound like a harsher word. I mean, it does. Audibly, it is a harsher word.
I saw some movie where they pronounced it fago. I'm like, that seems better.
It's a really nice restaurant, actually. I've been there before.
Say, that sounds like a sauce you'd buy at the store.
And then there's something about that hard T and that. But yeah, so it's funny because when we talk about words and how we reclaim them, everybody has a different reaction between queer and faggot. You know what I mean? Faggot for me, I was less like, I wasn't beat as much with queer as I was with faggot. Faggot came with a rock. Faggot came with a fist. Faggot came with breaking the windows of the place that I worked at, and I think I would have that same reaction if queer came with those same things. But I try to be that open-minded, guy who's like, okay, I get, but that's how I feel when you talk about, listen, good for you. This is not mine. I feel that way about that word. I'm never going to be that guy that's like, hey, faggot, with my friends. That's not going to be me. Like, just saying that word so many times, there's this tickle in the back of my throat, like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for me, what I'll say to start is it's really hard to know where to land because it's all really feelings, emotionally based. It's not like there's like hard rules for this stuff. So it's person to person, it's going to change, and it's really hard to know where to start out with people. If we should start with queer, LGBTQ, or gay, or usually just best to ask, I guess. But for me, in my generation, or for me personally, I should say. I grew up in the closet. I feel like I never got clocked for being gay until I was 18 and came out, and then that all cavalcade of stuff with my family. But I never had it directed at me. I heard it around me. I saw it in movies and TV. I could just blend in as straight, and it wasn't even a question. So I'm kind of lucky about that. Since then, I've heard it once or twice directed at me, but it was I never grew up with the word to the point where it became a visceral thing for me when I heard it. I mean, I could definitely, when I hear the hatred behind it, I can definitely get, I can understand. But just the word itself doesn't trigger any sort of particular emotions in me, and I'm lucky. I guess I'm just I have a different experience, and even other people my age have had.
Could you ever see yourself like, let's say Drake is like, hey, hey faggot? Would that ever be something that would be in? And some people can get okay with it, and there's no right, wrong, or any other. But could you see, like, where is your mind space there? Like a friend of yours who you know forever, and that's their vernacular.
It doesn't affect. Like, it doesn't. I know that it's used for shock value, and that's the only time I ever hear it in my friends is when they sort of want to be provocative. Yeah. I don't really hear people identifying as a faggot. I don't. It's not like I don't think that we've there yet in the culture. I think it's mostly used either in a derogatory way or for a shock value, and that could be on either side, really.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things you said, which is, I think the way I am able to take my time and get used to things and kind of go with this, which is I truly believe, Maya Angelou, I believe, said it, who we all know is my favorite poet. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. So I wait for them to tell me. Mm-hmm. You tell me. I don't want to assume anything. I'm going to be human and mess things up. But when someone tells me, then I know. And I'm okay with waiting for you. I mean, I might get a little weird if, like, I would like you to address me as faggot. I would maybe be like...
well, those are my pronouns. So
right, like, exactly.
Oh, boy, I'm going to have
to... Add that letter to the alphabet.
Yeah, exactly.
LGBTQIAF.
Yes, and then let's see what happens. I think we would have a whole different relationship with the South. To be honest, right in that moment. But there are other letters in this alphabet that have allowed us to evolve as people. Now I get it. Our country is very bad at allowing people to evolve. I will still remember Hillary Clinton, which I'm not taking yay or nay on her. I don't mind her, but when we weren't allowed, because of the whole DOMA thing, she's running for president the first time, and people are mad at her because her husband had created DOMA. And she said, notoriously, that her thoughts and opinions of it had evolved, and people lost their shit. And I thought, wait, if we're not allowed to evolve our thinking, what exactly... Like, that is a legitimate answer, in my opinion, because we all change. Listen, this is going to sound disrespectful, but I used to hate Taylor Swift, and my opinion evolved. And now I'm like, oh, she's smart. She's a smart businesswoman. That's how humanity works. But of course, we wanted to. I think media took a lot of side in that. But as we look at this, I never self-identified as queer ever for decades, right? And then I found myself evolving. But now, for some reason, we're mad at trans people. We're mad at people wanting to change pronouns. We're mad at non-binary. Anything that isn't, like, it's like there is this class of people who are like, listen, we let you have the 4 letters. And that was it. And we barely let you have bi. You know what I mean? Because we give a lot of shit to our bi brothers and sisters. What do we see because I also feel like as we move into the future, those letters will continue to expand because humanity, that's how it works. We are going to find ways that we can get into where we feel like our skin is our skin. We're going to identify, but we're not, and it's going to be a fight because every time you change something a little different, people get pissed off at you. So I'm curious about relationships. I know you'll have a lot to say. I want to know them. I want to talk about the relationships of that alphabet because it changes with life. And this idea that we don't evolve. Like, I don't understand that idea that we don't. Because I'm thinking, I see people in this room nodding when I talk about, well, we evolve as humans. But there's this whole group of people that act like that's not a thing. And I don't understand that. You work with kids. Yeah.
Who are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Thank God they're evolving.
Yeah.
And I would say the call is coming from within the house. Like the problem is within the community itself to start with.
That's a good point.
It's not just straight cis people who are the problem. It is the first couple of letters you're talking about, not recognizing there is a longer list of letters.
We
in
don't
a lot
like
of
to
ways.
admit that, though.
Oh, exactly,
Yeah.
right? Because we're sitting on our privileged little, we've got marriage now, we've got protections in most states, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Nope.
That's what comes with privilege when we feel, because we've had it for longer than we've had those rights, in the past. There's a privilege there, so therefore we're allowed to look down our nose at everybody else. Mm-hmm. That's fascinating. I have never stopped to go, I mean, I do have opinions about our community, but that's fascinating. You're right. A lot of it does come from ourselves, from
That's
our
why
letters.
it took so long to have trans and non-binary representation in our pride festivals across the country.
And you're right, lesbian and gays, boy, back when I came out, we were all so proud of those two letters. And we don't have time for that's a true statement. Mm-hmm. I mean, there was a lovely woman named Fran who lived in Leavenworth. I was in Wenatchee when I came out, and was the very first trans person I had ever met. And the shit I watched her take over, because this is PFLAG, which Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays, the other letters were not there. People did not want her there. And I think it was because I knew her that it made me go, don't be a dick. That's my philosophy, and that's my religion. That's all I need is don't be a dick. My mother met her. It changed everything to know someone, another letter in that alphabet. You know what I mean? What's your experience with the alphabet? The queer alphabet, I guess? I don't know. It's an alphabet, though.
Well, lately it's been a blend of, overwhelmingly supportive and overwhelmingly negative. I just, identified as non-binary just a little over a year ago. And much to my surprise, a lot of people, of course, who am I expected, have been very supportive, but a lot of people just find it confusing. Lesbians think I'm an affront to their femininity. Gay men think I'm an insult to their masculinity. And it's just like, I thought we were all part of this community because it was our heteronorm cisgendered counterparts that were ostracizing us. So why are you doing the same?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you came to the same conclusion. The call is in the house, bitches. You know what I mean? It's right there. What was that? Well, that fucking sucks. I just need to stop and say
it's
because
the truth,
it seems
though.
like it seems like, why is it so hard?
Well,
you know what I mean?
If I had to guess, humans are always adverse to change,
for sure.
And the LGBTQ plus community is no exception to that. Unfortunately, I think thankfully, the years go by, we're going to be seeing normalization and people becoming more human about it, just like when bisexuality was very controversial and people were real dicks.
What do you mean
about
when
that.
it was controversial?
Yeah. Much less so now, but I mean,
it is much less so, but it still is.
I think that it just takes even the most progressive people, for some reason, hold on to what they think is right, and then they realize they're wrong. Eventually, it happens, but for a while, it's going to be just dealing with people until they finally until they finally drop their pride and say, not, you know what I mean? Until they finally drop it and say, okay, you know what? I could be wrong about this. I'm going to look at this differently.
The scary thing is, those of us who lived through the, we're good. We're not getting, we're good. So I worry that, is this day ever going to come?
No.
Where exactly. No is the exact answer. And that sucks. You hope to get a little better. What was it like? That's an evolution. It's very brave, but to find the evolution of, you know what? No, this is also part of who I am. What was it like how does that even begin when it was never offered to us? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then finally there is this thing that I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, it was like this, oh my God, like this feels, it fits me, and had no idea what was missing. And then she found her comfort, and she found her evolution, and she knew this was what she was missing. What was the evolution of this like for you?
For me, I wanted so desperately to have some sort of representation in the real world of who I felt. We all have idols and icons growing up, people that we look up to. But there weren't any overtly looking masculine men that presented themselves in a overtly feminine manner.
Yeah.
And I was honestly living in a very conservative city in a red county. I was fearful.
Yeah.
And then one day I discovered this program on Netflix called Queer Eye. And there was somebody named Jonathan Van Ness. And from that moment on, that was the representation I was looking for. Just his mere presence in popular culture made me realize, oh, that is who I am. I finally had the courage to admit that to myself and start living that level of authenticity.
Well, I learned a lot from Jonathan Van Ness. I don't think I'd ever realized what non-binary meant. I never knew anybody that identified that way, and so seeing Jonathan Van Ness, and I'm like, I really engage with this person. I really like this person, and they're introducing something new to me that I've never really thought about before. It made it very accessible for people to learn about it just from the program.
Absolutely.
And their fearless way of just being is what I'm always so floored by, because it allows people to go, you know what, this is just who I am. I'm going to come in. Like when he did a series that was about education, and he would go to, I'm going to go visit this mechanic, and not once did he change how he presented and how he wanted to be listen. And it was always, he went to the mechanic, I believe he was in the South, show up in his fabulous dress because that's what he wanted. And that is what blew me away. And it is that ability to stand and just be, this is just who I am, that I think changed it for a lot of people that went, oh my God, if he can do this and not be afraid, maybe I can do this too.
That was it. And it has changed my life. I am happier now than I have ever been in the 38 years that I've been on this planet.
I sent you a note, and when I got back, and after we had seen each other again, and I said, what is crazy to me is the light that is there. You're always fabulous. That's why I was always drawn to you. But it is night and day, the way you glow now. And I'm like, fuck, what? In the end, fuck everybody. That's exactly how we all should be able to be, to live. Also, I love, listen, anybody who gets a chance needs to find you on Instagram, because you're fabulous. I am in awe always. Of what, I mean, I think I told you that when we left the last time, you had worn this absolutely beautiful sweater. And our beautiful intern, Daniel, was like, that looks amazing. I'm like, right? It's just, you're allowed to be who you are, and you're allowed to express yourself the way you express yourself. And it is this reflection of basically the fearlessness of Jonathan Van Ness. But why are we so afraid to let people live their authentic selves? That's what I want to know. What do we think in this room? We've all, whether it's coming out as gay or whether it's identifying as non-binary or working with the kids, why is it so fearful of society to allow people to just be? Anybody, any thoughts?
I think it's human nature to fear what's different, and what's not a constant relative force in the world. If something comes along that disrupts societal norms, it's just human nature to fear it. Now, it can sway either way. It can become a learning educational opportunity where people start to develop a greater awareness of what this difference is. Yeah. Or it can do the opposite. It can polarize and ostracize people.
And I just want to say, my personal belief is that's a choice.
Agreed.
Here you go. You can react in these ways. And any of those ways you're reacting is the choice you made. And we need to get better at choosing to come at it in education, in openness.
I think there's knee-jerk reactions. I see things slightly differently. I think there's knee-jerk reactions, and I think as a society we've come a long ways because now gay people are normal and almost boring,
I know.
depending on where you live,
exactly.
And now we're making new steps and new communities and making sure they're being represented. But if I came out as gay, 70 years ago, people would be worried. They wouldn't just be like annoyed. They'd be like,
you wouldn't be coming out as gay.
Right. Yeah.
Coming out as dead, maybe.
That's exactly. That's the point I'm making. Is I'd either be in an asylum or I'd be, beaten to death at some point. It just, people that had self-preservation at the time wouldn't come out.
Yeah.
So now, I think people have natural responses. I think as humans, it's normal to be have an involuntary thought that comes to your head and an involuntary thing you want to say when anything's presented to you. But when it comes to something that's just foreign to you, I think people have learned better to, maybe it's for their self-preservation, to not say something bigoted and not say something thoughtless.
That
and
is what it
careless.
should be. See, this is the thing. You can have your knee-jerk reaction all you want, but the evolved human then stops and goes, okay, I'm going to need to process this and find a different way.
You're just assuming more people are evolved than actually are evolved, I think.
No, that is a true statement.
Yeah.
I don't assume nothing. People are not evolved. We need to be more evolved. But the problem is, unless we start talking about it, unless we start going, maybe we need to, everybody take a moment, check ourselves. Because there, as you said yourself, there are people in the gay community who have not the nicest things to say, even about trans people. And I thought we were getting beyond that. We're not. They're in our own community and we're still going to judge them. Listen, it gets so, you can narrow it down even to ageism in the gay community is gigantic. Body positivity in the gay community is horrendous. We are really good at hating ourselves. That we have made and it's why we put ourselves in these categories. We down to, you can take it, bears, chubs, otters, chasers, it gets foxes, and we will micro manage ourselves as if we're saying, hey, listen, haters out there, don't worry about it. We got it. We got us covered. And it's fucking bullshit. And that's what I want to start talking about because it doesn't change. Talking to these, I was so thrilled because I have had bad reactions, but to have these beautiful men, it's because a lot of the opinions were very generational. These beautiful men who have been hurt and are older be able to, I think they appreciated that this person wasn't going to beat them over the head. You say what you need to say, and we find a way forward. The problem is we're going to attack each other and no one's talking about the way forward. It's not, we're going to beat you down just like a hate crime until you're bloody in the dirt. And that's not how we heal. We can only
not how we
heal.
learn. It's not how we heal.
None of it.
Yeah.
It has to be discourse. It has to be, I've learned I have to say conversation sometimes because some people are like discourse. It's a
they're not
word.
mutually
Look
exclusive,
it up. No, right,
Yeah.
right. But those are the things. People ask why we do, we get asked a lot about the live show and what this show is. You know what it is? It's that we all need to learn to celebrate life together because life is fucking short. It is not easy for a lot of people. So is it more people together? Better. And yes, we are nowhere near it and we can't be naive. And that's way beyond when I pass away and the world goes on. But it doesn't mean we don't start trying. You know what I mean? We still need that here. I love you guys are so nice because you're like,
I'm just so focused on what you're saying. I'm just like,
which
he's
is a
saying
great thing.
everything.
So I
right.
guess maybe a question I have is what's the way forward here when it comes to our community, when it comes to other people? How are we going to? I guess it is talking about it, but we've talked about it for a while. Just learning to accept others.
But we haven't done the work. I just had this conversation at my day job.
What's the work? I guess
that
is what I'm
we
saying.
have to. Talking is great.
Yeah,
that's beautiful, and we need to do it. But if there's no action behind the words, well, fuck you, because we just wasted time. So you're correct. What are ways? What are things we take and move forward? I think part of it is being fearless and standing up to be seen. Being seen is super important. It takes bravery, especially in a lot of social circles.
Especially when we're buddied up to Idaho, it takes a lot of courage, I think.
Yeah,
in some ways. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, and then further north, and listen, there's some pretty places without some pretty people. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, been there. You work with children. We need to be working with our youth. We need to be supporting our youth because they are the ones that are evolving more than I could ever dream of evolving. But there has to be more. There has to be not afraid to have conversations with people maybe you wouldn't normally have that conversation with. Or not be afraid. I think of it when someone will come at me with their very strong opinion about certain things and not being afraid to continue to hold my truth, even in that. And you can do it in a loving way. Well, and you can do that.
I feel like I'm talking too much. Sorry, but at my work, I've decided it's just best and most convenient for me to not tell my coworkers that I'm gay, so they don't know that, and they'll be very forthcoming with what they think about gay people and transgender people and what have you. But I've still found my ways to not concede certain points and not not make them feel entirely validated in what they're saying by challenging them in specific ways. And I think I do this just as a person in general, where I won't completely shut down what you're saying. I'll find sort of the hinge point of what you're saying and just ask questions about that. And sometimes that can be enough for people to even take a step back and be like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. You know, it's like, you know, why are, you know, I'd be like, why, you know, what's really wrong with, I'm like, I'll be like, live and let live. And they'll be like, yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
I guess now, but I have a meeting later. They don't agree. I want the day to come where Drake just surprises you and like kisses you on the cheek or something, and they will lose their fucking mind.
And I'll say he's Italian.
I want it filmed. And I want it filmed because that stuff makes me happy. Part of like in talking to that point, I want to say part of it is if we accept how people see us and we don't stand up, I think that's part of the problem. You know what I mean? Because we teach others how we are to be treated, and but it makes sense. It's a valid thing in this society. You know, it's not against that, but it's okay. It's gonna take more. We have to find ways to change. It's culture, people. We have to change culture. We've let it get away with some shit.
And I think part of the problem is we teach how to be nice to difference and and the minority when being different actually isn't the minority.
No.
Right?
No.
That's like, so it's this heteronormative, this cis-normative rut that our entire culture is in.
And we've allowed a false narrative. Yeah.
So it's like and this happens in every work field. So years ago, I was getting my hair cut at Supercuts, and it must have been before Valentine's Day, because the small talk conversation was, oh, do you have a girlfriend? Are you taking out her on a date? And as I have a pair of clippers next to my head.
Right.
So and like this total stranger, she was just trying to be nice and like get her a paycheck, sort of a thing. She wasn't doing anything wrong necessarily, but what if she just asked what I was doing for the holiday? All these different things. Like, stop making the norm this one path and forcing me to out myself.
Exactly. One of the things that we talk a lot about right now is don't put the burden of education on the people you want educated about. You know, what she want you to say? I'm going out with my boyfriend. That shouldn't be yours to do it. She should be a little more. She doesn't have to figure out that you're gay, but just be aware of your language, of what you're saying. But the truth is, we educate because that's a part of who some of us are, but it shouldn't be expected, and we do in this society. I mean, you'll ask. Anybody? I mean, it was a big deal. I'll admit, I was watching Real Housewives, and
one?
I want to say it was New York.
Okay,
so I hadn't caught up. I didn't watch Real Housewives for years, and then sometimes you're bored and you're like, I just need something that doesn't matter. There's no brain to it, so I watch it. And there's this amazing woman on there, and she talks about, because she's an African American woman, and she will call you right out and say, it is not my job to educate you, to make you feel better about me being in your space. And I'm like, fucking yes, that's what. Do you know who I'm talking about?
I don't, because I must be
watch it
back. Okay.
Oh, you got what? She's new. So listen, I hate to give Real Housewives much.
Sounds like she's perfect for a reality show.
Right? Exactly. And it was that's what got me thinking. Oh, she right. Like, I can't expect someone else. It's not their job to educate me. Because the other thing that someone said was, we have the internet now. There are lots of resources that you can go educate yourself.
Well, I think there's a balance, because if someone's sincerely coming to you and saying,
that's different.
Hey, please help me. That's one thing. I guess in an everyday social situation, it does become taxing to have to make clear, and
I think it all comes with the nuance of,
yes,
some
this
people
is nuance.
know.
I guess sometimes I'll hear what you say and I'm like, well, here's the nuance part, but
right.
I know there's nuance in all of this. I'm just saying
there
that
should be.
With my friends, I've had times where they, I think sometimes we have to rebuke our friends for different reasons, and sometimes it's because maybe I'm saying something ignorant about a community that I didn't even realize was ignorant, or what have you. And sometimes you just need a friend to kind of knock you upside the head. Figuratively, or maybe literally, depending on your to basically set you straight. But I don't think, obviously, in every social situation, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't know how to have just everyday people realize what they're doing is wrong without
it's hard.
rebuking them, and that's tough. And so I don't know when that's going to happen.
There's
I don't know
that
when
balance.
change is gonna
I had a
happen.
friend. I use Marco Polo a lot because I enjoy seeing people's faces when I talk to them. So we send videos back and forth. It's kind of like a video texting. So my friend in California, her name's Malia, and I absolutely adore her. And I've known her for a while now. She's talking to me. She's like, yeah, and this guy was coming at me, and he was all being all kissy face and she don't have time. Like, she's a tomboy, and she goes, and I told him, you cut that gay shit out. And out of nowhere, her face just freezes. She's like, I mean, it's not against you. I should, and that's my other favorite thing. If you're friends with people, they'll educate themselves sometimes. They're like, oh, that's right, you're gay. And I'm not saying, it's not that hard to forget with me. So it's a thing.
Or when another friend will like, oh crap, they said that, now I gotta shut them up before Ian gets mad.
Yes, exactly.
And I was like, okay, go for it.
And then it's fun. Mm-hmm. Then you get
grab
to just
popcorn.
step back. Yes, exactly. It's a popcorn moment.
Well, there are other people, that have been through so much crap like myself that they have enough courage to take that opportunity to put that person in their place when they need to be.
Yeah.
A perfect example of that was Christmas Day. We decided to hell with cooking. Let's go out to eat. So we went to the Ruby River Hotel, went to the Osprey. And there was this couple that was sitting at the table next to us and noticed the stunning black evening gown that I was wearing. Oh, and the dad who was trying so hard to whisper, but you could clearly hear what he was saying. He's like, that is just the strangest thing I've ever seen. Do you suppose that that's a cultural thing?
What?
And I could just hear him just going on and on and on. And I said,
culture
dude,
did he think you were from? I mean,
I don't know. Tonga, where men wear dresses.
Right.
I don't know.
He's obviously French.
Yeah,
that's what
right. So I finally just got a point where I was like, he's obviously talking about me. So I turned around and said, it's called non-binary. Google it.
That's beautiful.
10 minutes later, he comes over to the table and says, I am so sorry. I offended you. I have taken care of your check for the evening.
Oh, that's so. Oh my! There are good people out there who
So
get
all
it,
it
and
took-
I guarantee he Googled it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, no, because I saw him and his whoever was with them, daughter, wife, or whatever, grabbed out their phone, and I could see him
That's
going.
beautiful. Yeah, you don't have a lot of fear. I mean, you do step right, and I admire that about you because I've been on mics for how many 20, 30 years now. There are still moments where I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. You know what I mean?
It wasn't always that way, though. I had to go through a lot of hell to build up the courage to be able to put people back in the place where they were trying to throw me from. Plus, living 4 years in New York City, you develop a very tough exterior over time.
Hey, I'm being non-binary here.
Yeah, I'm freaking wearing the dress. Get the hell out of my way.
Exactly. Also, I mean, I also love this. Like, we were talking before, Daniel and I were talking about the nails, painting the nails, and that people get pissed if guys paint their nails, and it's so weird to me. We decided as humans what was female and what was. We gendered them with dresses, all of these things, and then we get very angry when the rules we made up are being challenged.
Well, in general, people that take care of themselves and care about their appearance are feminine, and people that don't care and just throw themselves together are masculine. And,
right?
And even just Hollywood has changed that, where people are like, wow, that guy's fixing his hair in the mirror. Oh, is he one of those people?
Exactly.
But now it's like taking pride in your appearance has changed, and the way that you show pride in your appearance has changed. And so, again, we're getting there, but there's still plenty of people
Baby
who
steps,
get really
except-
triggered by nails.
I know. It's this huge thing. It makes me want to paint my nails.
It's hypocritical, because I bet a lot of those straight guys that are saying that idolize those 80s hair bands that painted their nails and wore makeup and had no problems with
That's
it.
a good point because also, they would cheer them on. Why was it okay? It also comes with framing. Like, how have we framed this? Well, these are just, hair bands. Listen, if we were going to go gender roles, those hair bands were all in the 80s. I don't understand why, and that was okay then.
Because half of them were known as some of the biggest womanizers of the day.
I mean, that's a true
They had to
statement.
balance it out.
Yeah.
It's their own PR teams were balancing that out.
You just made a very good point. Can we just admit to the role media has played in the fucked upness of our world? And it's becoming more and more obvious now. But you're right. It's the way their PR people decided to push it. It's why if you do something that is considered morally implorable, if you take a strong front and don't apologize, 80% of the time, people are going to go, move on. You know what I mean? And then 20% of the time, you're going to be Kevin Spacey. So, I mean, he earned it. But I guarantee you could find 10 other examples of something almost exactly like Kevin Spacey, and they sailed through it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And how long did it take? Look at Armie Hammer. How long did it take for that truth to come out and for someone to go, we probably need to pay attention to this? And for every, Kevin Spacey and Armie Hammer, there's 100.
What did Armie? I thought he was just having weird cannibal fantasies. Did Armie?
That's part of it. No, and then he started getting the women who were coming out with receipts, text messages, everything, talking about how he beat them, and how he would get violent
non-consensually.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And so that kept coming out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and so he kind of, it just kept going, and then of course, that was a rabbit hole that I was like.
That's a whole nother can of worms. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. I didn't know what else was happening besides that.
Yeah. So but for every one of them, there's 100 that are still at it, still getting. We only have barely talked in the media about Brendan Fraser and his experience in Hollywood and him being forced upon by male people in a power, and people didn't want to talk to him because it made them uncomfortable.
And that's why we haven't heard from him in his career for the last 13
The
years.
Whale,
And you know what?
Whale, he's going to get an Oscar for The Whale, I guarantee
He's going
it.
to get nominated, and he's going to win. And what makes me so sad is he's not going to be there to get it.
He's not. Yeah, he doesn't feel comfortable.
And it makes me so upset that past trauma from one person, I'm not even going to say his name, has prevented him from achieving the level of success post-Mummy that he has so longed for. And now it's here.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want it.
Deserved,
exactly.
But because it represents an industry, I found it fascinating. So Adam Sandler did an actor on actor, and he just did an interview with Brendan Fraser, and it was fascinating because Adam Sandler's not afraid to ask, and they're friends, so he'll say it. But to see the uncomfortableness in Brendan Fraser, even though he knows he turned in probably a performance of a lifetime in The Whale, telling a story that no one would tell, that he honestly during the George of the Jungle days probably couldn't have told. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And now, but it's just this. I kind of have a lot of respect that he wouldn't, even though he's going to get an Oscar nod and hopefully the win, that he is like, fuck you.
He's, by the way, I'll just say, he's a gem we've been missing out on for the last...
for so long.
I saw him break down his career. They started about his first role, and they went through to The Whale. And every time he talked about a movie, he would gush about the people he worked with. Yep. He would minimize. He'd say, well, I'm not a very good actor, and I'm also not really funny, so I don't know why I was in a comedy movie, but these people helped me through it. The camera guys did great, and this other actor was really good to play against. And he almost said nothing about himself and how he did. He was just always like, boy, everybody who was involved in this film, I was so happy, and I'm so honored. And I'm just like, let's learn about you, Brett.
I saw that. I saw that when he got to the Encino Man. When he was talking about working with Pauly Shore, how it was Pauly Shore that helped him be funny for that movie.
Yeah. You know what's fascinating, on another note in his career, is it was because it was all he was allowed to be. Obviously, he's had all of this in him this whole time with a performance like this. But, he was even in 6 Degrees of Separation. They were there, but because we didn't promote it, we didn't talk about those performances, we were allowed to just believe he was this dumb, pretty boy, you know what I mean? Just doing these roles. And I think and this is the thing, I think everything plays into everything else. I think those attitudes play into culture's issue with us evolving in our identities. It all plays into it. And I think we need to understand that it's never just this microcosm. It's never just this, it's this little issue. It's 8,000 issues that got here. And because we didn't deal with it way back when, it just continues to grow. But that man's amazing. I think he has a whole new set of fans and a whole new, I think his career is fine.
It's sort of like Leslie Jordan in a way, how the resurgence of awareness and then the incredible love that's coming towards him.
Yeah. And all I have to say is, please, Brendan, take care of yourself, because it broke my heart when we lost Leslie. So let's keep Brendan Fraser around, please, because I think we need more authentic people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or not. I mean, they could all suck.
Well, we need more people who aren't afraid to challenge the status quo.
Yes.
And people who are going to go, well, we've been doing this for 100 years. Why don't we try something different and see what happens?
Yeah.
Because the very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result each time.
Exactly. We were waiting for the one moment in the show where I lift my hands like I'm at a praise service, and there it
Still
is.
making sure your shoulders work.
Yeah, I know. But I just get excited. I mean, even talking about Brendan Fraser and all of that gives me chills because it's someone standing for who they are. Mm-hmm. I'm just amazed. I mean, look. What does the Oscars mean? I mean, Will Smith can go beat you down, or you can have respect for yourself, you know, and do this. So fascinating. So, anyways, as we've solved the world's problems, you're welcome. And we wind down. What do you hope we get from conversations like this? More people having these conversations. What do you hope we come with this?
I think just understanding that the LGBTQ community, the queer community, the alphabet mafia, however you refer to the community, is not a monolith. Yeah. That's a good thing. Yeah. That it's not a monolith. And we need to continue having conversations on how we want to talk about ourselves outside the community and inside the community.
Yeah. That's very good and very hard, but very important. I agree. And you, my friend?
I think developing the courage to be unique and be somebody rare and be somebody fearless. Because when you can adapt those three mentalities, you know, you find yourself in a unique position where when people come at you with their stupidity and their bigotry, you are compelled to such a degree to stand up and not only defend yourself, but to educate them, because it's very likely that that is not the first time that that has ever happened to you. And I've been a person that not only has been a victim, but has sat on the sidelines and watched somebody else be a victim. And if you can take an opportunity to develop those qualities and break that cycle within another human being, think of how many countless people that could have come after you that could have been dealing with that same situation.
Exactly. And I also think be kind to yourself in your evolution. We let other people's ideas of us kind of beat us down, and be kind to yourself and gentle, and let yourself have that. Let yourself have that evolution. You're not a bad person if you're scared in a moment. That moment will pass. Allow yourself that grace, to find the next moment, and we don't do that. And I think it's why some of us get stuck because we're so afraid and we're so wanting to be this perfect or this specific kind of way that we get in our own ways. And if we allow maybe a little more grace to us as humans, we'll get there faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I think. Tom?
I think allowing people to evolve and understanding that people aren't the way that they are always going to be, and that could be for how they identify. That can be for how people perceive how people identify. Yeah. I think on both sides, giving grace, but also not too much grace, I guess. Because you can kind of allow people to get away with stuff just because of social stigma. So I guess letting people be themselves, but also helping them improve.
Yeah. It's that old adage that meet someone where they are and walk them forward. You know what I mean? And you don't let them stay. Yeah. I mean,
help people improve themselves and don't get in the way of people improving themselves, I guess.
Yeah. It's a true statement. I have to say, I feel like this has been a very special episode of Blossom, where they do. And I love that because these are the things we need to talk about. And these are the things I'm intrigued on. I get emails from people who are intrigued by the moments in the show. And what a blessing and what a privilege. And so this show, I thank you all for being a part of it. I think it's an important. People have been very excited that this is what we're going to talk about. And I probably will get more people interacting online that I put it out there. And it's a good conversation to continue to encourage forward. So glad we were able to be a part of that. So thank you both for taking time to be. Yeah. Yes. This is we have so much fun on our show. And remember, you can catch our show every Tuesday at thequeercentric.com. Also, if you love us, feel free to support us. Go to patreon.com. You can have t-shirts and sweatshirts and button-up shirts and stickers, and there's so many things, and also exclusive content you can't get anywhere else. Also, go there because the wonderful digital holiday cards you can get there Only there. They will be signed by John, my wonderful friend who did those with me, and myself. You can get them there too, if you would like those. And I just, Barb, when you watch this, I know you'll be there like 2 seconds. So we'll make sure you get them signed and delivered. We'll even bring John to you.
But I won't look at them because I'm only 12.
Yes, because you're just 12.
Yeah.
What? That's my favorite. It's probably our most watched clip. And it makes me so happy.
Is when I misunderstood what they were talking about, and I asked, was that on Pornhunb? And she went, what?
Out of nowhere, she pauses. She just pauses for a second, and then out of nowhere, what? You're 12. And the look on your face is the best because you're like, I didn't say I was on it. I was just saying,
It wasn't my video. I was like,
Right? I love it. Well, thank you everybody who always continues to watch and support us. We welcome your comments and your emails and your money. So until next time, everyone, bye.